Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Mythic of Diamantina. So, this Mythic actually came out back in August of last year. People were starting to get it if they got it early around like November, December of last year. And here we are in April, finally having R2. We went way over odds. I think we ended up going like 24, 26 or so of the random eggs. Of course, main way that you get Diamantina is kind of annoying in the current state of the game. Not sure if they'll change this into the future. However, basically the whole premise of obtaining this mythic is you have to RNG into 6 random dragons. Once you have those 6 random dragons, you can go get the 3 weapons you need. Those being the Ring of Crystal and Ice, the Ring of Crystal Fire, and then the Diamond Ring of Fire and Ice. Once you have the Diamond Ring of Fire and Ice, you can finally then go get yourself Diamantinas and start getting however many you want. Should be down here. And every single one of those will then cost 1,000 Dragonite each. And you can end up picking up 1 or pick up 2, as there are viable teams that end up utilizing 2 of them as well. The main way they end up getting that is mostly from doing your daily dungeons. If you get it perfect, you'll get some Dragonite there. And you can also buy it every single day for 300 gems for 60. You can also find them off of merchants, as well as random gnomes that now end up having it, which came in around January or so, a couple months ago. So there's a couple ways to get it, though you're getting a good bulk of it from just doing the daily Dragonite. And if you're trying to do it for free, it could take about 2 years just from doing the gnomes that you find for free, as well as just the wins on dungeons. But anyways, the troop itself is very interesting. The most noteworthy thing about it, and the thing that sticks out immediately when looking at this troop, is it is currently the only 6-colored troop in the entire game. Of course, there are 2 6-colored weapons. However, they're relatively dated and not really used in the current state of the game, whereas Diamantina is not. It is very strong in pretty much every category, having score reduction, good traits, and an amazing ability, which is the main reason why it's used, and all that combined with using every single color. Of course, as it currently stands, it just does make it the only 6-color troop, so if we ever see more in the future, its viability could change, as it is hard countered by things like Submerge and stuff like that. While it is very rare these days, you know, it's still out there, so still a factor. But overall, Diamantina, really great option. So it's a 6-color troop, obviously 30 mana cost, but that's not too bad. 30 might seem high, but covering every single color makes that not as bad. It ends up dealing damage to all enemies, and one thing that's really relevant about this is it does it based on twice its magic. So let's say you get 5 additional magic, that's actually 10 extra damage. However, it's not just 10 extra damage, you're hitting all enemies, so it's technically 40 extra damage from what is simply just, 5 magic, and any amount of magic gain is like that. So one singular magic is effectively 8 additional damage, assuming the entire enemy team is still alive, none of them are submerged or anything like that. So that's a lot of additional damage, potentially. On top of that, it also gets to convert 5 skulls into Doom Skulls, probably one of the less relevant things that it does. However, one of the most relevant things that it does is there's a 10% chance for an extra turn, boosted by skulls at a 3 times boost ratio. So let's say there are 10 skulls on the board, which, it happens decently, especially if you're already creating other skulls or just clearing out the board with Skullstorm, which does happen. A Skullstorm at start of battle, so your Leprechaun into that, you have a lot of skulls on the board, of which you'll likely have about 10-ish. With 10, that would end up being a 40% extra turn chance. So its rate tends to be around a 1/3 to 50%, basically like a 33-ish to 50%. Obviously, it could be lower, it could be higher, but it tends to be around there after like a Leprechaun explodes, since you have the Skullstorm. Assuming you have the Skullstorm in your favor, it could get countered by one of their storms. But in those situations, that's not too bad. There are a lot of situations where you're just going for a single one-shot, so the extra turn aspect doesn't really matter. However, there are some situations where, you're running 2 Diamantinas, you're running some kind of other follow-up with your Diamantina, in which case it would benefit from that extra turn. But anyways, we're going to be messing with 6 teams we've kind of been messing around with over the last week or two. Or sorry, 7 teams. No, 6 teams. That was right the first time. But yeah, we're just going to be messing with a bunch of teams. Some of my favorites, some are just like general things that you might end up finding useful. So let's start getting into them, all of which are in the description below if you want to go and copy-paste any of them for yourself. So right off the bat, it's not that one. Let's start with Empress. This is a one-shot Empress build, but not any kind of one-shot Empress build. A one-shot Empress build that can one-shot Explore 12, which is fun. So basically what we need, of course, we're going to get bad RNG immediately. First, we need to not get bad Thrall RNG, which unfortunately is a mechanic of Thrall that we just have to deal with sometimes. But now that we have gotten past that point, we can actually start to play the battle, and we can get our combo. So, what we're using here, Empress. Probably my favorite synergy troop for this ever. This was a tarot card that came out several months ago. It became free to play, or, you can get it in Vault Keys right now if you wanted to. It became available as of a couple months ago. Yeah, highly advise getting this thing. It is arguably the strongest tarot card in the game. Not even arguably, it just simply is the highest, strongest tarot card in the game. Doesn't have much competition, except maybe the Emperor, but this one does about twice as much buff. But ends up giving a bunch of stats to the last enemy, And what's even more important, other than the fact that it's giving you a billion magic to your last enemy, is there's a high chance it'll extra turn. It is 7% per green on the board, and right now that is a 63% chance. So if we get really lucky, we just extra turn, into boom, dead. And that's all you have to do. You just extra turn, dead. Obviously, it doesn't always do that. Like this battle, maybe it won't, maybe it will. However, it can. And because it can, it is very, very strong. And as you saw, we had enough damage to one-shot there. So we just simply go for it, one-shot, boom, dead. And we can maybe do it again. Let's see, can we extra turn? Okay, extra turn, boom, dead. And it's that easy. It is that strong. So there we go, team 1. So next, let's go bring it down a little bit. Maybe you don't want to run Explore 12. Maybe you want a lower range, like Explore 7 or 8, depending on how much magic you have at a given time. Maybe even 6, depending on how low you might be if you're a little bit earlier in the game. As this is pretty cheap. Thrall, common. Leprechaun, ultra rare. Empress, a little bit annoying to get, but it's in Volkeys. If you open a couple hundred, you'll get it. There's a Vault event coming up soon, so just grind that Vault event. Actually, I believe it's next week's weekend. Not this weekend, but next week. This week is Bounty Hunter. Actually, I'm recording this beforehand. By the time it's up, Bounty Hunter will probably already be out, but, you know, standard Bounty Hunter, just the 3 true damagers, or the 2 true damagers, the Ogress, and just whatever the Bounty Captain is. But anyways, in other news, let's go to this team. So, very low-rarity team for the most part. Most annoying thing, obviously, being Diamantina to end up getting our hands on. And this runs very similar to the team we just ran. The biggest benefit being that it has Leprechaun. So in theory, we'd be able to get mana quicker, though we got a little bit of an unfortunate start on that one. So it wasn't that much quicker, but it allows us to kill this lower range. So we just do this, same premise. You just have the Leprechaun to get things rolling. You just have 2 mana accumulators instead of 1. Obviously, this does drastically lower the amount of damage you have. Worst comes to worst, you could double cast the Empress if you really want to go down that route. Instead of having double Empress, you could simply just get his mana back up again and even run this on the higher difficulty if you so choose. However, just doing it for the one-shot lower just seems to work out a little bit better for it. Oh, no extra turn that time. But it doesn't end up mattering. Just take it out for the kill, and we're good to go. All right, move on to the next team now. I'm actually not even sure which one this is. Let's go check. No, I do not want to buy any of those, especially those awful ones. All right, so now we have a gold farming team. So gold farming, of course, is something I don't feel like is needed as much in the current state of the game, at least later in the game. Like, by the time you have good gold farmers, you don't really necessarily need it as much. Well, there are a lot of things that use gold, and I feel like gold's one of the more balanced currencies within the game as far as all the sinks and everything for it. Ultimately, way later in the game, you're pretty much just dumping into your guild, so not as much of a use for it as you're progressing through the game, comparatively. But basically, with this premise, we're using a greed first slot. Since it has Empower, it's not actually blocking us in mana, so we simply go for the gold gain that he has, and then simply go for the kill. This win's about similarly as quick, but it gives you a ton of gold every single time. And of course, that's boost ratioed based on how much VIP bonus you have. Obviously, you'd want to be wearing Dragon Armor. If you have Death Knight Armor, wear Death Knight Armor. But don't cast Greed. Go for Leprechaun first. Get that up. Then you cast your Greed, and it has auto extra turn, so you don't even need to worry about it unless he's frozen. And then boom, dead. And that's all you have to do. And you get a lot of gold every single time. You can even up the difficulty or something similar, and yeah, just quick, decent amount of gold. I haven't actually tested to see what the exact rate is, but it seems about 2/3 of a million per hour, give or take, depending on VIP bonus, as that's one of those that always has a really wide range, as the VIP bonus can be quite wide. Next we have oh, this was actually the Vault Key team. So this is trying to stack as much damage as you can in one singular cast. The problem with this, with the current damage range, also I don't have any normal Vault Keys. Oh no, I opened them all. If I will do an Epic Vault Key. Actually, do Epic Vault Keys have higher stats? I actually don't remember. Let's find out. But this is basically trying to do a max one-shot damage. I believe we're on 12 magic right now for metals. I sure hope so. But basically, we're trying to maximize how much damage we can do in one singular cast. And what better way than a billion penguins? Is this enough damage? It is slightly short. So this is one issue that this team has. We're going to be showing another team that's like this, that is slightly higher damage. Though, we need normal Vault Keys. I don't have any normal Vault Keys to show it on. We just consumed them all over the last couple of months. So this is going to go pretty slow. I guess we could show it on a low-level Explorer, but it'll just be the same thing we kind of just did, the Explorer 7 ones. But this is meant for Vault Keys. I just don't have any. Hey, a lot of diamonds, though. But anyways, oh, no, I don't want to play again. Does that switch your team? No, it doesn't. Okay. So, let me actually switch to the other one. There is one version of it that has slightly higher damage. The reason being is we're actually using the Sorcerer Hero class. And what this ultimately ends up doing is, assuming you have the pets all the way maxed, or I believe at 2.75 they would still get this full bonus. But with the Karakroth bonus that you get for magic, combined with the purple for having 4 purples on your team, you actually end up getting 1 higher magic this way compared to the Penguin team. Basically, there are troops in the game that give +5 to all stats, while we're doing double Penguin in the other one. So, you know, 1 Penguin matches up to 1 Mesmer, however, compared to the other team. However, this team ends up going 1 magic higher. So instead of having an additional +5 all, is actually getting +6. And it's doing this through a pure purple team, combined with 2 Karakroth. The 2 Karakroth being, one of them being Mesmer, and the other one being the Sorcerer Hero class, as the Sorcerer Hero class is required for this team. and this basically gives it a 2 higher max hit than the team we just did. As we just mentioned, unfortunately, I don't have any normal Vault keys to show this on, so it won't be able to get the one-shot. However, when we have special events that give us slightly more magic, like, you know, whenever we have the standard 10 weeks campaigns, though they are reworking that, they are actually doing a patch 2 weeks from now. They're actually delaying the next campaign and doing a whole patch thing for it. But basically, this allows us to go for the big damage poke, and as you saw, we actually had enough skulls to one-shot him there. Even though he wasn't damaged at all, we had the additional damage to be able to just go one-shot him out, so I guess he can do it on this. This needs enough skull. Hey, an ingot orb. But anyways, moving on to next team. So those are mostly used for the Vault Key teams, though they could technically also be ran on the low-level Explorer, like, you know, mid-range Explorer. So lastly here, we have 50% Mana Star Dragon. So this one ends up using Essentia. Unfortunately, there's not a better 50% Mana Star Dragon. If there ever is, this team could definitely get quite a bit of a buff. But essentially, you're using Essentia to end up giving 50% Mana Star to your dragons, and then just getting both of them up and then casting. I personally prefer the Empress version of doing something like this. However, if this team gets lucky enough, you can win pretty quickly. You might be wondering why we're blocking our mana twice over with Essentia, blocking on both yellow and blue. And the main reason for this is it has Light Storm. We actually want to make sure we have the Bone Storm behind it. So that we get Bone Storm. It only triggers it once if we have double, so if we do it like this, we'll still do Light Storm. And we basically have to make sure that our Bone Storm will trigger behind the Essentia so that we end up getting Skull Storm instead of Light Storm. This is mostly to make sure when you do the Leprechaun clear, which we've been doing on quite a few of these battles, that we end up getting Skulls plopping down rather than the yellows, as yellow won't really do much, but Skulls will give us the boost ratio we need to ideally win. And similarly, this one can end up being ran on Explore 12, so that's exactly what we shall do. And that's not the right team. We'll do it right over here with the 50% Dragon. And of course, if you want to copy paste any of them, they'll be in order of what we just went over them as well. You want to go mess around. And yeah, overall, as far as Diamantina, I absolutely love this Mythic. I've been having so much fun with it now that we have double, single, and it's probably my favorite Mythic in the game now. Unfortunately, it is very hard to obtain. Arguably the hardest troop in the game to obtain. But I would say the grind is worth it. It does require a very, 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 very high amount of Dragonite. You could be expected to pay like tens of thousands unless you're planning on doing over the course of like 2-ish years. And even then, you might still throw like a couple thousand at it. It requires a lot of resources. And unless you get lucky on the eggs or they change how that mechanic works so it's not pure luck based, you can also get super unlucky like we did. And it takes so much longer because, let me actually go show it. I didn't actually show it during this video. But this is what happens when you get super unlucky. We have 4 purple, 2 blue, 5 green, 5 red, 6 blue, and 6 yellow just to get 1 brown. So of course you can get super unlucky like this, you can get super lucky where you get 1 of each, you know. It's pretty variable, so the amount that you can end up spending could be easily a margin of 3 compared to the lowest compared to the highest of how much you could end up ultimately spending. And obviously if you get unluckier, that's a lot of gems you're wasting. But you kind of have to in the current state of the game if you want to end up getting the good old Diamantina. But yeah, that's a rundown on the Mythic. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. If you have any teams of your own, feel free to leave it in the comment section below as well, as this thing has pretty much infinite potential. It covers every single mana in the game, so there's almost no wrong way. It's very similar to Leprechaun, in that theoretically, you could use this on every single team in the game if you really wanted to. Obviously, wouldn't be as good in some compared to others, but similar to Leprechaun, there's no, like, really wrong way to use it necessarily. So you just get to cover everything. So I really love it. Great option. Really curious to see if they're going to add another 6-colored thing in the future. So far, lately, while it hasn't always cost power gems, lately they haven't been. They have pretty consistently been adding a new boss trooper, you know, red border troop like this, pretty much every single year. And of course, now in 2023, we have yet to get one. So I'm curious to see what we get later this year. Even though we're going over this now, it did technically come out last year. It just a lot of people didn't end up getting it until, of course, this year, or very late last year. But anyways, guys, that's a full rundown. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week, wonderful weekend. I will catch all of you guys later, and thank you so much for watching. Bye, everyone.